Welcome back to the channel. Thank you once again for making your way back as we talk about VA disability. I hope everybody had the opportunity to make new memories and have a happy Thanksgiving this last Thanksgiving here with family and friends. So veterans, vacated VA employees, everybody watching, my name as always is Attorney Matthew Lang, VA credit attorney, and I'm here to give you another topic on VA disability. Now this is a question that I receive quite often in my practice. And it really goes on the basis of preparing for a VA exam. And so what we're going to talk about based upon that question, though, is not the whole preparation of the VA exam, but this one little piece. So we're going to talk about a VA examination, who and what can you bring. So let's just do a small recap really quick on what a VA exam is. Many of us probably already know, but just a small recap. In short, a VA examination is a crucial part in a VA disability claim. This examination is going to be requested by the VA Disability Office, usually the regional office, working within the Veterans Service Center or what other piece that depends on where your claim's at. The idea is that this gets requested for more information about your claims, veterans. And the information that's usually needed is something like a opinion, perhaps could be a part of that examination. Could be that the VA is looking for an exact diagnosis because your evidence doesn't maybe clearly provide that at the time of the claim. Or the VA is looking for a current symptomology of your condition so they know what evaluation to apply according to the law. Now, it is true in some cases, though, that the examinations are scheduled when they shouldn't be, they're not scheduled when they should be, and there's definitely errors there, but I don't want to hit on all those errors. Today, we're going to give the VA a break on that one. So veterans understand that when you get a VA examination, it's usually crucial that you do show up. Now, are there instances where you're not required to, and maybe it's better you don't? Sure. But I can't tell you that from this point of view, since I don't know the facts of your case. But I would highly recommend that if you do have questions in great detail about your case as it comes to VA examination, attendance, maybe even certain preparation pieces, to definitely seek out a representative or your already assigned representative that you've hired to ask those questions of. Let them go through your facts of your case and help guide you through that. So anyhow, that's our VA examination, right? It's just a piece of the puzzle that helps the VA understand and answer certain questions that the law requires. Now that we know what it is again, what can you bring, veterans? What can you bring to your VA exam? Well, you can bring personal medical records. If you've got additional medical records you want to bring that are relevant to your case. Now keep in mind, I'm going to back up just a little bit. When I go through this list, veterans, one thing I would caution is don't bring just everything. Don't throw the sink at the examiner. The examiners are going to already have or should have the information that's all in your VA file. Now, is that always the case? From experience, no. But it will be presumed that they do. So I can understand when it brings stuff, but when I mention these documents, don't bring like everything to the table because the examiner is not going to have the time to go through and figure out what's relevant and what's not. So make sure these are relevant pieces. So again, personal medical records. You can definitely bring records that talk about your diagnosis, talk about your symptomology, maybe even letters from your private provider. Maybe you got a DBQ from another provider. I don't think that hurts to bring either. It's definitely a private medical record or a personal medical record at that. So veterans, you can always just bring that. The idea here is we want these examiners to be informed as much as possible with the relevant facts, and that they should be underneath the law when they write these exams. Veterans, you can also take and write up personal statements. I know veterans out there that want to write down things because they're afraid that when they get to the exam, they're going to forget because they're going to feel nervous. They're going to feel a little stressed, perhaps. And they want to make sure the examiner is informed again. So yeah, veterans, I would say feel free. Write your statements or your letters that you got to write down and share that with the examiner. Same with any of your letters, buddy letters, perhaps from a spouse or a friend as well. I don't think it honestly would hurt. It just gives more information to inform the examiner. Now, if you got some previous VA correspondence or copies of decision letters or maybe even exams, that may not hurt to bring either because, like I said, veterans, VA, as VA knows, they're supposed to send over all these records to the examiners, but unfortunately, not everything, in my experience, is always tabbed correctly, sent over correctly. Computer errors occur. It's all electronic now. Maybe the examiner doesn't get a piece. It may not hurt, but whether it's needed or not, again, it's already in your file. So it's kind of for something for you to decide there. But it's an option. Now we got certain conditions out there too. Veterans like migraines. I know a lot of people like to keep logs of their migraines and keep track of their symptoms. Know when those migraines occur, how bad they are, what those symptoms were on day 1, 2, and 3, and whatnot. So bringing an annotated symptoms list or any sort of list that documents the severity of your condition on particular days, especially. Yeah, inform the examiner, I would say. Let them know how chronic your condition is and how severe it really is. Let them understand that even with joint conditions, for example, that you have flare-ups that occur on these types of days, and write down these symptom lists and show that to them. Like, hey, on this day, I couldn't get out of bed because my feet hurt too much. And I was stuck in bed for an hour, or I was unable to go to work because, I couldn't get beyond the pain within my knees or my back, or I couldn't bend over to tie my shoe. Just you never would imagine veterans how much a lot of that information is relevant. So, yeah, definitely an annotated symptom list. I think that would be a great helpful tool to bring to your exam as well. Now, again, these are all based upon generalities here, so I can't say every one of these documents. Again, veterans are good for your case, depending on the facts of your case. But these are things that I have definitely utilized in my practice to have veterans provide to examiners as well. Now, with that though, again, a lot of this stuff should already be in your records, veterans. So if you do have a representative, I imagine the representative would be able to tell you, I know I can, if I'm representing, whether it's in your record or not, and then we can look at the exam and see if it's been reviewed or by the examiner, and we can kind of go from there and make arguments and appeals. But so it may not be necessary to bring all this stuff, but also remember, it may be a good idea as well. So we got the documents out of the way there. We got what you can bring. You can pretty much bring any document to the Asian veterans. There's nothing really restricting it. We got to remember, though, it's up to the examiner whether they're willing to accept it. Now, keep in mind, they're not going to be able to accept it as evidence there. You're not there to argue your claim with the examiner. You're there to help the examiner understand and inform the examiner of the severity of your condition, when that condition started, and the chronicity of that condition. So don't go in and when you go to provide a document to the examiner and the examiner doesn't want it and start arguing with the examiner, right? I would highly recommend against that. That could potentially be kind of negative in your exam if you become very argumentative. That's not really the time to do it. If you do run into that problem, you get a representative. If you don't have one, if you have a representative, let the representative know. Like myself, I prefer to know. Veterans that I represent many of them will come back to me and say, hey, I did my exam. This is how I felt it went. And if I don't feel that the exam was done properly based upon their statement, we'll put their statement in the file. We'll let the VA know, hey, we have some concerns here. The examiner was given this information but didn't want to review it. Maybe it's because it was already in the file and I already have it. And if not, we can always put that in the statement. Hey, your exam's inadequate because not all the information was given. Now, keep in mind also that veterans that the stuff should probably be in your claim file at some point. So if it didn't make it in there before the exam, again, you may want to talk to your representative if it's a good thing to have in your VA file. It may be helpful for the VA to see as well when they do their decision. All right, so there's your idea of what you can bring, veterans. Just make sure it's relevant. Don't bring boxes and filing cabinets full of stuff. Not recommended, unless it's all relevant. So the other part of this is who can you bring? Now, I hear this a lot, especially in mental health conditions. Spouses are usually they're a support person in the veterans your life. They're the ones who are there side by side with you usually, or you have another person who supports you, whether that be a friend, a family member of sorts, or another partner. Are these people allowed to be brought to the exam? Sure, why not? But you got to keep in mind, veterans, though, that you can bring a support person, but again, the exam is about you. You're still going to have to be the one to go through the exam and answer the questions. The support person can definitely help accompany you and maybe help calm you down, relax you, or whatever needs to be done to get you through the process, sure. But they should not be the ones answering all the questions for you, veteran. That is what you have to do, no matter how hard it may be to do. But now, even though you can bring such a support person, veterans, the examiner ultimately gets to choose whether that person's allowed into the examination room with you. Maybe they're not comfortable having that person in there. Maybe there's some sort of concern having that person in there. Maybe they let the person in for a little bit and they decide they got to go because they are answering all the questions and they're kind of in the way. They're impeding the exam more than they realize. So veterans, if this happens, do know that the examiner is allowed to refuse the entry into that room for these support people. You can do your best not to get upset about this. Just know that your support persons are outside the door if you need them. Getting upset usually is at that moment and arguing with the examiner, I find doesn't usually help the situation. There's definitely a time and a place to make these arguments and to argue things with the VA, whether that be with the VA directly, with the Board of Veterans Appeals, or to the CAVIC, the Court of Veterans Appeals. Let us representatives argue that out for you. Don't get too argumentative in your exams. Now, of course, mental health might be a little different if you happen to get very irritable, and it may be tough, and I get it. But again, they're allowed. They can definitely help support you there. They should also remain respectful as you two veterans, how hard it may be when you're there. One thing you may want to do, veterans, though, before you bring that support person is just politely ask the examiner if it's okay for them to be in the room with you and explain who they are in a quick elevator speech, probably even less than that, sentence or two. Just give them the option to say yes or no up front and be okay with the answer at that moment. So ultimately, veterans, you can bring all relevant documents that you feel is necessary that would not be in your VA file, even stuff that may be in your VA file, to make sure the examiner actually sees it and make sure that it was passed along. Make sure they're informed. You're able to bring a support person. If you want to bring your spouse, bring your spouse. If you want to bring a family member, or a friend, or another partner of sorts, bring that person as long as they are there to support you and they help support you. If the examiner's got questions for them, then the examiner will ask questions of them. But remember, veterans, it is your exam, though. So that person has to be careful not to really be in the way at the same time. And be okay if the examiner says, hey, I'm not going to take that information from you or those documents from you. Maybe they won't even look at them. Or maybe even say that your support person can't walk into the room with you. How hard it may be, veterans, that's one thing I would say that you're going to have to kind of be cool-headed about as much as possible. Again, there's a time and a place to argue things. One thing, veterans, I think I'm going to throw in here just on top of it is one thing I wouldn't do, though, is it's really not recommended to record secretly your VA examination. I would try not to be secretive at all. Anything, I'd just be straight up honest, to tell you the truth. That's usually what I tell veterans to do when they walk in the exams, just be honest. Be honest about everything, your condition, and so forth. Now, if you want it recorded, again, this is something I'd ask the examiner, veterans, and see if they're okay with it. Kind of be respectful at that point. Now, you may get different opinions from different representatives and like attorneys and stuff on that matter, but it's not one that I typically practice. I don't like the secrecy of everything when it comes to making sure that everybody's working together. But again, veterans, just I'm throwing it out there. But that's it. That's it right there, veterans. There you go. You can bring your wife. You can bring relevant medical evidence, other documents that are relevant. You can bring your support person, whoever they may be, to your exam to help out. It's a question that's asked all the time of me. Can you do it? Yes, you can. But just remember to be respectful of the examiner. You're in their house. When you walk in there, just be mindful of that. All right, everybody. I appreciate it coming back to the channel, watching again a video where we talk VA disability. Let's keep the conversation moving. If there's more you want to know about this topic or any topic, please feel free to comment. Please do all the liking, subscribing, and I thank you for the people who have subscribed and the ones that have subscribed, especially recently, to the channel. It's great to see the interest that everybody has and the willingness to work together as one team between veteran, VA, and representative in order to make a smooth claim process for everybody. With that, I thank you again. Enjoy your week, and I'll see you next week.